Howdy folks, I'm Harry Hedge Parsley, heartily harassing hungry hovering houseflies.
I'm Amber.
And here are more hovering houseflies for us to harass, although again, I don't know how we're doing this as parsley. Maybe they don't like the smell of parsley. So let's get started on that. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Defending My Friend's Boyfriend? She played his voicemail out loud for everyone and they laughed at it. I need to know if I'm acting ridiculous because everyone was acting like this was so normal, but maybe I'm just overreacting. We'll try to keep this short. I'm a 28-year-old female and my friend, a 25-year-old female, has been dating Richie, a 23-year-old male, since last fall. Richie's cool and he's kind of become friends with our group as well. Richie and my friend had an argument recently. I don't remember what about, made up I guess, and Richie left a voicemail on my friend's phone apologizing. When she got his voicemail, Richie wasn't there. My friend played the voicemail on speakerphone for everyone else to hear. They started laughing at how he sounded on the phone, making fun of how it seemed like he was making his voice low and gravelly and serious, and calling him dramatic. I didn't say anything because it felt weird to me for us making fun of her boyfriend behind his back, especially when we become friends with him too. So I said, I don't know guys, we are listening to his personal message and I don't feel great about laughing at him. To which my friend said Richie should know if he sends something like this, she will tell her friends about it. It's not that big of a deal and Richie is our friend, so it's normal to do stuff like this. Am I the jerk? Maybe I made a big deal out of nothing and this is common, but it really took me off guard. Edit, the apology was because my friend said Richie's friend was lame and he got sad about it and then apologized for getting sad about it. He has cancer. Oh, he's a cancer. That's very different. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, that's not a nice way to treat someone you're supposed to care about. You shouldn't be mocking people for the way they're apologizing. Like, as long as it sounds like he gave a sincere apology and she just wants to make fun of him for no reason.
Yeah, I think that OP is right to call this behavior out. I think that, they're trying to protect their friend. And, it doesn't matter if Richie had a dramatic or gravelly type of voice for the voicemail. I mean, maybe if he was making a mockery out of it or if it was clearly a joke.
Well, that's the thing is like if it had been insincere or something like that or had been doing the non-apology, I'm
Yeah.
sorry that you can't handle me or something like that.
Listen, Amber, I'm sorry if you can't handle me at my worst, because I can handle me at my best, because I'm Batman. So yeah, I don't know. I think that OP was right to call them out. I really do. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for being the one to wake up at night to take care of my daughter? When my daughter was born, my daughter went through the usual steps of crying at night. Mom, who had a rough pregnancy, sometimes wouldn't wake up to hear her cries. I've always been a light sleeper, so I would wake up and take care of her whenever it was needed, rocking, maybe a warm bottle, a diaper change, soothing. I never said anything to her. I figured that she would wake up at times when I didn't, so there would be a balance. One time we went out with friends, and she started gushing to our friends what a great baby we had, and she hardly ever needed to get up in the middle of the night because our daughter would mostly sleep through the night. I didn't want to embarrass the mother of my child in front of her friends, so I waited until we got home to bring this up. That's when the problem began. As soon as I told her that I was getting up at night to take care of the baby, she absolutely lost it on me. She said, why would I do that? Me not waking her up to do it is the reason she can't wake up now when she cries. Says that I stole motherly duties from her. I didn't see it as mom or dad duties, but as a shared parental task. I didn't care if I was the only one doing it or not. I just wanted to take care of my baby. Mom seems to look at me as some kind of monster for trying my best to be a good father to my kid. So am I the jerk for waking up to take care of our daughter at night instead of leaving it to her mom? Edit, I can't believe how much this blew up. I've tried responding as many comments as I can since I originally posted this. I want to add some additional context for some of the more common questions. I work between 9 and 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. She was also working, so we had very little overlap as far as time goes. Conversing about what was going on persistently was usually our topic of conversation. Mom was never really one to ask how my day was or how things were. And if I asked her, it was usually a mumble groan, so I typically didn't share that much. It was always more of a thank goodness you're home kind of vibe, and left it at that. The fact that this wasn't a topic of conversation seems to be confusing for some. Mom wanted to track all of the feedings and the diaper changes, so she had downloaded an app to her phone where she and I logged everything. There was maybe an unreasonable expectation on my part that she was checking this regularly, and if something had been wrong, she would have told me. Her checking it apparently did not happen, which I think didn't help that neither of us were talking about it either. I was also under the assumption that there were nights that she was doing it as well. I never said that she hadn't been doing it. For sure she did, but it turned out to be not as frequently as I had been doing it, which I was okay with, but now I know that she wasn't. This came about sometime between when the baby was 4 and 6 months. I don't want to share my daughter's exact age for privacy reason. This did happen some time ago. The baby is much older, thankfully, and mostly sleeping through the night. Me and Mom are not married, just to clarify for those referring to us as husband and wife. I have a mixture of overtiredness, post-COVID brain fog that I think contributed to the fact that it never occurred to me that these conversations were not happening. There were days when I was running on autopilot and 2 hours of sleep, and I was for sure not as present at work or at home as I should have been. I didn't make the post to prove a point, clickbait or otherwise try to curry favor with absolute strangers on the Reddit. Mom has been using this to bash me to friends and family. I wanted more of an unbiased opinion from people on the outside that would tell me whether or not, in fact, I was the jerk. This event didn't just happen, but it happened months ago. I was trying not to bias the conversation with anything negative about her, but I see how some additional context was needed because I shared this not because it happened, but because even months later, she is still bringing it up as something horribly wrong that I've done. One of the key issues between us is definitely communication, and it's something I have been and will continue to work on going forward. There are certain questions that I did not feel comfortable answering, as I didn't want to make this so specific that people in my actual life would realize who the parties involved were. This includes the baby's actual age. Since this was brought up, due to medications being categorized as Class C, Mom was medically advised not to breastfeed. My daughter had to be entirely bottle fed. I did try to write this as separate comments so as not to add any edits in the original post, but that comment was buried on others, so I'm including this here for future reference. I also wanted to take the time to thank everyone who communicated and shared their opinion and experiences. I've definitely gained some additional perspective that I did not have before. I appreciate the encouraging words and even the opinions that do think that I'm the jerk here. I'm not perfect. I have my own failings, but ultimately, I just wanted to see whether or not I was doing the right thing, not just for the mom, but for our child. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, it's not a mom thing, it's a parent thing. And I think it's really good that OP is stepping up and helping without expecting, like, to be prompted or, expecting accolades for this. I think he was just treating it as a normal part of parenting where, like, you don't tell your partner every time you change the baby's diaper, every time you do a feeding, some things like that necessarily. And so I don't think he was doing this to be, like, secretive and, ooh, I'm feeding the baby in the night when no one else knows about it, and so it's really unfortunate that the mom is treating him so uncharitably over this.
I'm wondering if she's going through some kind of postpartum or something like that, which is kind of skewing her view of this. OP is going above and beyond and even logging these things, so it's her own fault for not reading the app and reading the logs and stuff like that, and that's what she needed to do if she wanted to know whether or not the kid was waking up in the middle of the night. She could have investigated it, and she could have found out. And I think that this is not on OP at all. I do think that they should have had better communication overall, but I am also not blaming OP because they kind of were communicating this just to the void because she wasn't reading the communications, right? So you can't blame OP for really not being more communicative in some respects because, like, he was literally logging this information. She could have read it. That is a form of communication still, right? I do think, like, there are other areas of communication that they should have, been talking and having other conversations and stuff like that. But again, they're new parents and they're kind of like hanging on for dear life. So, I mean, it's hard to judge somebody, who is in that kind of position, right? And I think that OP was doing being a parent, plain and simple. I don't think that they were trying to, make any excuses. I don't think they were trying to take away parenting time from the mother. And the thing is, like, she was fine with this until she found out that OP was doing it. So she's like, oh, you're taking away, valuable parenting time. Well, what happens if the kid had been sleeping through the night? Would OP have been stealing, valuable parenting time away from her then? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It only became a problem when she found out about it, right? So I think that her excuses are flimsy at best here, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Asking My Parents for My Own Money Back? I'm a 24-year-old female and I moved out of my parents' house in February. For some context, I came out as a lesbian to my parents last year, and I told them that I had a girlfriend. My mom told me things like, nothing could be worse than this, acted devastated, and didn't talk to me for about 2 weeks. My dad threatened to leave the country and cut me out of his life and never interact again. They both later acted like things were normal again, but I never really got over how rejected and emotionally unsafe I felt. They never asked or referenced my girlfriend. Every now and again, they would sit me down and tell me that I was selfish. They were so disappointed in who I'd become, that I had been difficult for my mom to tolerate as a baby, and now I'm even worse. Even before coming out, there was a pattern of being called selfish, difficult, too clingy, etc. Growing up, I was told that I was the reason that they didn't have another child because I was too hard. While I lived there and have started working again as a doctor in the UK, I was paying them £750 a month. The understanding was that it was for food and rent. After I came out a few months later, I asked if it could be lowered because I felt like a lot, and they reacted really badly. They said that they had bought a big house for me and accused me of not wanting to help them, that I was being very selfish and disappointing. My dad said that I probably would ask for all the money back when I leave. I felt really guilty and I never brought it up again. A few months ago, I moved in with my girlfriend partly because I genuinely wanted to, but also because their house was making me emotionally unwell. Today, I visited my parents and we somehow got into the topic of money and savings and houses. My mom asked how much I could save per month without rent and bills, and I guessed around £2,500. She told me that they had actually been saving £750 a month that I had given them and that they had been planning to surprise me with it one day for the house deposit when I left home. This confused me because that was never communicated to me. I reminded her that when I questioned the amount before, they had accused me of being selfish and said that I would ask for all the money back when I left. They said that she didn't remember saying that. She then said that if I had wanted to live there rent-free to save money, all I would have had to do was ask. I was really confused by this given the previous conversation when I had asked for it to be lowered and they kicked off. I had asked my mom, okay, then send it over and I'll put it in savings, and she kind of brushed it off and said no. I had sent them a text later that evening when I returned home thanking them for saving it for me and asked again if I could have it for savings. My mom then said, what I meant was if you were carrying on staying with us, when you were ready to buy a house, that would be your deposit. I asked them to explain further as it didn't really make sense for both herself and my dad, and they ignored the message. Am I the jerk for asking for the money after my mom told me that she was saving it for me? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And it seems like your parents are probably not being honest and just trying to manipulate you.
Yeah.
The way they're behaving is completely inexcusable. It seems like they wanted some way to force you to stay at home. And so now that you're out of the nest, you're like, oh, we had all this money we would have given you, but you didn't do what we wanted. So too bad, so sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is just a manipulation tactic. It seems like these people are very manipulative in general, and this was just one more way to kind of twist the screws on OP. It's like, they're dangling the carrot after the fact and being like, oh, if you'd only stayed with us, if you hadn't moved out, we would have given you all this money, but you blew it. You are no longer entitled to all this money, right? And so that's the way it kind of reads to me. I mean, maybe I'm being uncharitable of the parents here, but from the way OP frames it, this is exactly how I kind of view it. I think that they are being dishonest. I don't think they had any intention on returning that money ever. I think that they put OP in a lose-lose situation, and they just want to make life as difficult for OP as possible for some reason, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Being Completely Packed When My Friends Help Me Move? Yesterday, I, a 26-year-old female, moved in with my boyfriend, a 28-year-old male, and he's upset with me that I wasn't completely 100% packed, and insists that I owe everyone involved an apology. For some context, I got this apartment and never truly moved in. A vast majority of my stuff was still in boxes when it arrived. It arrived in when I moved in. Hardly any packing to do for moving out, just really my clothes. His friends, a 28-year-old male and 28-year-old female, ended up helping me pack the last few things while we moved out. After we were done moving, boyfriend sat me down and laid into me about how rude it was to not have everything packed in advance of their friends helping me move, and that I owe everyone an apology, and they shouldn't have had to pack anything. Among my friends, however, this would have been fine, and I can't see what was so exceptionally rude about not being 100% packed. Am I the jerk here? Did I mess up as bad as he feels? Are my friends bums for putting up with that? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I think, if you had so much stuff left that you needed help packing it, that is kind of a jerk move not to tell people in advance. Like, it's understandable you might have a few things from day of that you have to throw together real quick, but you should have been more or less fully packed when people came, or let them know that you needed help packing too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very helping people move is already such like a onerous thing that it's really difficult. I think that OP should have given them a heads up if they knew that they had things actually left to pack. I don't think that I think it was poor form. I really do. I don't think that OP, handled this well. And if their friends would have been fine with it, they should have had their friends help them move, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. You're the jerk and somehow you doubled down. I think the wheel has been well calibrated recently. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did the digital clock say to its mom?
Tick-tock, Mom. Time's running out.
Look, Ma, no hands.
Mine was a little dark.
Yours was.
I don't know why that came to mind. And I have Earl Grey. And folks, today is a very special day. It's moving day. So if you want the experience of moving, go pack up all of your stuff, put it into a moving van, drive around the neighborhood 5 times, and then come back to your house and unpack.
That does not sound like a fun time.
I will not be participating in this day.
Yes, same.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Fantastic Friday, folks. I can't believe it. It's the weekend. Can you? And folks, it's a very special weekend. We are back to having full weekend episodes. So hopefully you enjoy those once more. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on moving.
If you're asking people for help moving, make sure that you let them know what the task entails.
Yeah. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.